doing a PhD just at the minute, doing that, if you like, academic apprenticeship just at the moment, is a really wonderful and powerful thing to be doing, and that, in a sense, I suspect that very few people in this room are actually working on the history of the last 10 years, last 10 or 15 years caught by the Web Archive. On the other hand, I suspect that all of you are using digital resources of one sort or another, whether they're kind of classic historical databases or simply JSTOR and I don't know, Echo and the Burney collection and 19th century newspapers. And all of the things that have been said about the Web Archive, the extent to which it is something different, the extent to which it creates new possibilities and new ways of working, is equally true of what you are all each individually working on. And I suppose what I keep getting back to is that interrogating things like this, thinking about the interface, thinking about how you use it, and doing so in a self-conscious and self-aware manner makes you a better scholar and makes your work more powerful. And as importantly, actually, I don't. This is important. I think that better scholar bit is actually the really important thing. But it also makes you a better academic and gives you a series of skills that are remarkably saleable in that weird academic world that a lot of people actually want to be employed in. And to that extent, there is a kind of win-win in all of this. Being aware of it, allowing it to inform your thinking, allowing it to inform your research journey, and going back continually to good academic standards and scholarly standards and applying them to the online you use every day is something that I think just both changes the nature of the process, but also changes the quality of the scholarship that we produce.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just add one thing, which we haven't really talked about very much, that actually Tim, I'm guessing that Tim is right that not many of you here are working directly on the period between 1996 and 2010. However, I would wager that almost all of your research areas have elements of them have been represented in public discourse in that period of time. So say if you were a historian of the slave trade and the abolition, there was a big bicentenary of the abolition in 2007, which generated a great deal of web footprint. And so I think you can probably think of individual instances where actually there has been public representation and discussion of stuff relating to your field in the broader sense, which has occurred online in this period. So actually at a historiographical and a slightly more meta level, I think there's probably primary content in there for most people.
Any comments from the floor? Any questions from the floor?
I'll just add to what Tim said and sort of reiterate, maybe in even more forceful terms, that, you know, as this is a really terrific opportunity to grapple with something which very few people relatively are using, there's an extent to which, as we were saying earlier, you do kind of get to be part of the rule-making process. You get to decide how, you know, one of the things that came up in our project was, how do we cite a record in a web archive? It's not a trivial question, either technically or sort of intellectually, but basically everyone around the table contributed to what was possibly one of the first times anyone had talked about that thing. And it may be in 10, 15 years that standard which we agreed to, or which we kind of mooted in that room, you know, becomes the standard for an area of scholarship which is only going to get much, much bigger. So being part of the conversation now is very exciting in that sense, because you get to sort of, define and design how this is going to play out in textbooks in years to come. So it's a good time to get involved in that, I'd say.
And if I may plug a resource which I've been involved in making, there is a bibliography of the published work and associated blog posts and other reports, methodologically orientated stuff on a site called Web Archives for Historians. And so, but I think quite a lot of the method stuff will be relevant across different disciplines as well. So I think actually that would be, so Google Web Archives for Historians and then you'll find it. It's not a very long list, which is a confirmation of Josh's point, that actually the literature there is quite thin. But what the literature there is available is, quite a lot of it is available online, and so it's actually quite accessible.
Any other comments? May I end on a note that I don't mean it to be a negative note, but a positive negative, if you will, to do a Rumsfeld. which is one of the things that I got with my research in that is not to be afraid of failure, not to be afraid of actually negative results, because in many ways those can be extraordinarily revealing. And if I challenge anything of you to do in your PhD research, don't be afraid of the negative, of, in that sense, what might be traditionally deemed to be failure because you don't have a set, solid case. Because in some ways they can be more revealing about the question that you're asking. And in some ways it is the process of redefining your question, rethinking it, approaching from different angles, using different variables that can, in fact, in many ways, be more revealing, even if it doesn't give you traditional results.
The ukulele demonstrator.
Indeed. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the day. We will, in due course, it will there'll be recordings put up, and you'll be able to re-access that. If any of you are interested in coming to the UEA event, where we'll be able to do more hands-on with the resource and help you create a database, that's open up for signing up until the 17th. So please keep that in mind. And then also do the final plug for the other open event, which is the visualization with Mia Ridge at the Open University on the 25th of June. Thank you very much.
Thank you.